Okay, welcome to PlayStation Week at Binary Core, and this week, on Thursday, the PlayStation 4 is coming out. So it's Thursday, right, isn't it? I've got the date.
I think it's Thursday, but only in America, North America. America.
When are the rest of the world, the more important parts of the world, getting it?
About a week or 2 weeks after the Xbox One. So
really? So it's not coming out in England until
December time.
Wow. Kithius is with us as well. He's just been very quiet because he's been quite ill. But
hello.
He's got tonsillitis. But enough of that.
That's the end of that, yeah.
Yeah, that's all he's going to say.
I thought he'd say something about it, but maybe.
So we're kind of going to go through, seeing as we're sort of handing over from the PS3 to the PS4, and we're going to talk about the PS3, and, you know, what were the good things, what were the bad things, what did we like, and what didn't we like.
The highs and the lows, if you like.
Highs and lows. Kithius, with his lack of talking, is going to do most of the talking, because he's one of the only ones of us who own a PS3.
But he's in a better position.
7th generation console that was first announced at E3 in 2005.
Yep. Was that really that long ago?
2005 was when it was announced, but it came out in 2006.
Yeah, and that was a year after the Xbox 360, right?
I believe so. And the sort of the change from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, very large. I mean, it was one hell of a hardware update. I mean, we're moving to... I mean, it had a Blu-ray player for starters.
Yeah, it came with HDMI.
Yes. Originally came with backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
A feature they took out to save money, I believe.
That was only on the slim versions of the console, wasn't it? Or was that on the...
It was on all of them.
It was a software update.
It was a software update.
It was a hardware update.
Hardware update, yeah. And it was only the original 60 gig versions that had the backwards compatibility.
The backwards compatibility was actually like basically a PS2 hardware inside of PS3. So,
yeah.
Hardware update, they took it out because cost.
They came around your house and ripped out the console and...
Yeah, at gunpoint. They didn't actually come around my house because I didn't have one until a few months ago. So,
it was announced at E3 on 2005. It wasn't released until November the following year.
When was E3 into it?
E3 is in like July sometime.
So that's a long.
So November 11th, 2006, it came out in Japan. 17th of November, US, and the rest of the world, 23rd of March the following year.
So yeah, that's a long time between announcement and launch.
And as of last week, well, so 2 weeks ago, November 2nd,
yep.
80 million units sold worldwide.
So it's now outsold the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
So that's a high for it. It released later.
It did release later.
It released a lot later and still outsold in the end.
I think that a lot more units have been sold recently due to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One announcements. So because of PlayStation Plus and the amount of awesome games they're giving away for free, well, I say for free, it's the £40 a month, a year subscription.
£40 a month would be an absolute rip-off.
Well, not really, if you're getting 2 free
games. Because of the games they're giving you. But, yeah, £40 a year, so same as sort of Xbox Live, and they're giving you all those free games, and I think that is what's driven the rise in people buying PS3s, because they're cheaper, and people who are getting PS4s it isn't backwards compatible.
Also,
so,
The Last of Us.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't discount The Last of Us.
That was going to be one of my next points.
Because there are people, I know of people, who've actually gone out and bought a PS3 simply for that game.
I do. I know a guy who has sold quite a lot of his Xbox games and moved over to PS3 just because of The Last of Us.
Really? Sold all of his Xbox games to fund the PS3?
Well, not all of them, but not to fund either. It took him a year debating whether or not to get it. He used to play Resistance Fall of Man a lot at his friends and loved the game. And then The Last of Us came out, and that was like the final nail in the coffin of his Xbox.
Yeah. So
he had to get it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I almost did.
I heard that guy still has his Xbox, though, and still plays
I heard he still has his Xbox, but like, he kept an Assassin's Creed game just to play that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, not number 4. I think he kept like 2 or Brotherhood.
Both and Revelations.
Oh, was it you? Oh, we weren't talking specifically about you.
I was about a different guy I know.
Yeah, his name's...
Keith.
Yeah.
Try and pronounce Kithius backwards.
No?
Yeah, anyway, yeah. So yeah, I bought a PS3. I still have my Xbox. I sold a bunch of games. I was going to sell the Xbox, but then I like playing the Halo co-op games, so I'm keeping it.
Suifica.
But yeah,
So-
I bought the PS3 for The Last of Us.
Swifica, are you sure?
Sounds close enough.
Do you own a fat PS3, a thin PS3, or a super anorexic PS3?
A super
Slim.
anorexic one that's thrown off all of its internals.
Ugh.
Yeah, I bought
did
the
it
super
throw up
slim one.
This down.
I would say, did it throw up its hard drive and you had to put a new in?
I didn't come with one. I bought the 12 gig. Is it 12?
Oh, what,
The arcade one, and I had a spare laptop hard drive I put in it, so it's like a 640 gig.
that
Another
is
plus
definitely
point, you can replace
a
the hard
great
drive.
thing. Yeah, replace the hard
Well,
drive. Is there
I should say you can replace the hard drive with any laptop hard drive rather than a really super expensive Microsoft one. It's actually my second Xbox 360. I sold my first one to buy a new Xbox 360 with a larger hard drive because it worked out cheaper than buying a larger hard drive. Which
That's
was
another
just
thing
stupid.
about PlayStation 3. There's not been a huge amount of hardware faults.
There's been that network fault.
Well, it's
Yeah.
I say fault,
on the
hacking.
on the hardware front, it's probably simply down to the fact that Sony's a hardware company and Microsoft's
True,
a software
yeah.
company.
Yeah, but it's still good that they've not had huge, massive hardware faults. I mean, that's always going to be an issue, whether you're a hardware company or not.
I do remember Matt had an issue with his, and I remember going over to his house once, and it was just lying there in pieces.
Well, Barry's doesn't work anymore, does it?
Ironically, I actually
Yeah.
know more people with PS3s that have been faulted than Xbox 360s, but then again, I do know more people with PS3s than Xboxes.
True.
Yeah, but it wasn't. The hardware faults that the PlayStation 3 had were nowhere near as big as
And
other
also-
consoles.
Barry's only broke in like the last year, and he's had that from launch, hasn't he?
Yeah, so
And it's, as we said, 2007 for the UK. So that's a long time to have
Durability.
a piece of kit that's lasted.
yeah, they've been very durable.
Hmm.
So there's that then. Going back
Yeah.
to The Last of Us quickly, because we were just talking about that. That's a big high as well. That game's done brilliantly. It's won
Oh,
like
yeah.
27 awards.
Only.
Only, yeah. I'm surprised it's not more from what I've heard. But in its first week, it sold 1.3 million units. And as of July this year, it had sold 3.4.
That's not bad for a single console game.
Yeah. That's really good. I mean, it's nothing compared to, like, GTA, but GTA is that game that's got
It's
the hype.
multi-platform.
Multi-platform, it's got previous... It's got a lot of...
Yeah, but if you judge it by its previous,
I mean, arguably, you get more game in GTA 5 than you do in The Last of Us. The Last of Us is like, it's kind of a rare thing in that it's a game that, it's got like a multiplayer mode, I don't know how popular that is, but the fact that it's all about the single player campaign, and that's kind of a bit weird these days. But it's good because I like that. Yeah.
I recently watched the Zero Punctuation about The Last of Us, and of course he has a negative view on all games. Though there are those few that he did like, but he was just picking a lot of flaws in the story. Like it's a sort of zombie survival end of the world sort of thing, and he doesn't agree with the title being The Last of Us, because if The Last of Us refers to the humans, then he's wrong, because he's never seen so many humans alive in a zombie game, so end of the world sort of thing.
I don't really much rate Yahtzee's opinion on games, so I probably won't say anything about that. He's entertaining, but
Oh no, he is entertaining. Like I do like watching games, even though if games I love, I just like hearing how is he going to make this a bad game?
Yeah. But I liked it because, well, to be perfectly honest, the story isn't that amazing or different, but it's the game as a whole, how it's put together is perfect, basically, and the characters are. This game will, like, it fucks with your emotions pretty badly.
Sounds like
Yeah.
Spec Ops the Line.
For a game to do that is impressive.
Yeah.
So it sort of really draws you in to protect that little girl, does it?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's parts.
The one who looks like Ellen Page, but definitely wasn't based on Ellen Page, and there's going to be no lawsuits about that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, there's parts when you're separated from Ellie, and you're kind of like, you worry about her, as weird as that sounds for a game. But yeah, that's kind of like how engaging it is.
There was one thing that Yahtzee said that about her, it's that the enemy don't sort of attack her, they sort of ignore her completely, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas in things, there's a Resident Evil game, I think it's 4, where you have a girl following you, and the zombies in that will actively try and kill her, and your point is to protect. I mean, you can go and say, go hide in that dustbin, and she'll hide in that dustbin, and they won't like try and get her. Or there's a bit later on where you can make her wear like a full suit of armor, and the zombies can't pick her up because she's too heavy. But
that's kind of like a different approach, because like with The Last of Us, it's not really about trying to protect Ellie.
You're transporting her.
I mean, you're transporting her, but it's not framed in a way where it's like, oh, she's helpless and needs your protection and so on. It's kind of framed in a way that she's her own person, and she grew up in this world, and she's more than capable of looking after herself in it.
I think that's one of the most interesting dynamics about it, though, isn't it? The fact that she's grown up in this world, so she doesn't know anything of the world.
She keeps seeing loads of references to the previous, and she doesn't understand them or something like that.
And the way they've put that together is brilliant, from what I've heard.
Also, there's a great bit where she tells really bad jokes occasionally throughout the game, and they're just fantastic.
Oh, we should definitely get this game.
It's brilliant. It really is.
Hey, moving on from that, another big draw to the PlayStation 3 was Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
At the beginning, people loved that. I'd say it was a very early Minecraft sort of way of doing things. You know, you build something, share it with your friends, and sort of that.
Yeah, it's quite different. I've only tried playing it on my own like once or twice, and it's kind of boring. I think I've kind of
Is there a sort of single playerness to it?
You can play it single player. I mean, it's a platformer, but it's so much more fun with friends than it is on your own.
There's a big community behind it as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, like people can make their own maps and stuff. And there's like a friend of mine made a map on it that was impossibly difficult. It was doable, but only just, and it took a lot of attempts. But it was just like it's really fun to play, and it's quite endearing.
Did you complete it?
Several times. Not on my own.
That says a lot about a game. When you get a map like that is ridiculously tough to do, and you stick with it to complete it, that says a lot about a game.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many of them. It wasn't rated very highly on, like, because you can publish them for other people to play.
Yeah,
and people hated it because it was punishingly difficult. But yeah, it's like everything about the game, like the mechanics and the art style, and I don't know, it just kind of all worked and fitted together. And of course, the Stephen Fry's incredibly relaxing voice.
Does he narrate it, does he?
Yeah. That's
really good. I mean, and Sackboy has worked quite well as a mascot for PlayStation. I know it's just for the game, but you see Sackboy and you think PlayStation.
Yeah, it's been a good marketing tool.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, all the merchandise you can get of Sackboy, you know, it's quite good. Good way to promote the brand. One other thing that I thought was quite a good draw to PlayStation, but hasn't been one after that, was PlayStation Home. The idea was really quite good. But it never really worked.
No, there's an article that I was reading the other day about this, strangely enough. And it's kind of like a nice idea, but
I don't think a lot of people would use it.
No, it's not that popular. I mean, I've not been on it since I had my own PlayStation. I've only played around for like 10 minutes on it on someone else's a few years ago. But it's kind of like, if you're going to play games, then why not, just go play with your friends on like a proper game rather than going into this virtual world and then going in, finding an arcade or queuing up for a virtual bowling alley, which is just weird.
If you're going to try and create a Momorpago sort of thing, then do more to it. That's what it sort of seemed to look like to me. All these people going into a world online together, hanging out, doing certain things, like you say, playing bowling. But if you're going to do that, go and play
the thing is,
WoW or something.
It's like a live action sim, not live action. An MMO Sims.
Kind of, but without like any sort of driving force behind it. So
yeah, there was a slight sort of decorate your room and that, but there's no. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
There's no end game.
I mean, the other kind of part of it is that because there's no overarching goal really, it ends up being kind of cringeworthy because you go on there and you see like a female character and you see like basically, I would guess little kids or like 12, 13-year-olds just like basically taking the characters and running at female ones and just holding around them and annoying them, and it's just it's
Pixel GTFO, that sort of thing.
Pretty much, and it's
I could see it being good at the beginning for a novelty. Like, you'd be like, oh, let's go on PlayStation Home and check out what I did to my room.
Amusing, but
and it would wear off really quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice
feel like
idea.
It could be. It's a nice idea. I feel like if there was more to it, like if it was
if
more
it
of
had
a
trophies,
Sims.
there were trophies for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like an actual idea. I know, Dave, you're not a fan of achievements and trophies, but if there was an overarching idea, something you're meant to do.
Yeah, it needs some sort of end goal to it, because it's nice to have the idea of like a social meeting space, but to be honest, why would you bother if you wanted to meet up with some friends, you'd either if you
do it on the game.
Yeah, you just do it on the game. What's the benefit of going through like loading up home and then going around and bugging around with your avatar just to start a game? It's like just start the game.
If you want to hang out with your friends like that, go physically hang out with them.
That means leaving the house though, and that's not something that I'd want to do.
Yeah. So there have been highs and there have been lows, and
have we talked about all of the highs yet, like the controllers?
What about? I suppose moving from
good...
how the controllers previously were on the PlayStation 2, that whatever connection that is, having them as USB,
having them wireless, but
I would have
USB.
I'd have a bit of a complaint at launch because they didn't come with like vibrate or anything like that at launch.
Oh no.
What was it? It was like for a while you could have either DualShock, which is vibrate, or you could have 6-axis, which is like moving it. And it's only
6-axis as well. That was a.
It's only more recently you can get like both in one, but 6-axis is kind of a gimmick, to be honest.
It's a good idea. Again, it's a nice idea. And
at least
to be
it's
fair, it's
kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a really dulled down version of what the Wii could do.
Yeah,
I say that about anything.
Hey, what about the PlayStation Move though? Come on, guys. Everyone loved the PlayStation Move, right?
Never even seen one in real life, let alone used one. So
looks a bit like a shake weight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we all know.
Anyway,
and
so the advantage of controllers is like you can plug them in via USB cables to charge, which is better than the sodding situation
batteries.
Otherwise. Yeah, because batteries drive me nuts. So it's quite nice to be able to plug them in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only real complaint I would have about them is that they're not really that ergonomic to hold because of the sizing of them. It's a little bit.
Yeah. Not a lot changed from PS2 to PS3 though.
Yeah, I think
really.
Is it just a size thing?
I think they're
I don't
okay
like the
if you
triggers.
haven't used. Yeah, triggers are dodgy.
Oh yeah, it was more like a trigger than just a button, wasn't it?
No,
yeah,
it was
but it's not a very good trigger. So like the trigger is bent.
I'm
the
looking at a
opposite
picture
way,
of one
so
now.
it's like your finger slips off rather than is held in place, and when you put the controller down, if you're watching a film, it's very.
So you're saying it's convex, not concave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of annoying, but generally, I don't know. I mean, I have an Xbox and a PlayStation, and I don't really have a preference between the two. They both got problems with the controllers that bug me, and they both have good points. So I don't know. I don't really think about the controllers when I'm playing, so I guess that's good for both of them.
Yeah, I think the only reason you'd find the PS3 controller less ergonomically fitting? That's the one. Is if you've used the Xbox controllers. I think they fit much better into someone's hands, and so then going back to a PlayStation 3 controller, it feels weirder.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like the look.
If you haven't done that, the PlayStation 3 controller feels absolutely fine. It feels great in your hands.
I mean, I think looking at the PlayStation 4 controllers, I like that they've gone with the kind of extended handles bit.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely a good move because it's just more comfortable.
Yep.
But yeah,
one other thing I wanted to mention was the no charge to play online. And obviously you've got £40 for the PlayStation Plus, but you don't need that to play online. Like their version of Xbox Live, the PSN, is absolutely free, so you can play online with your friends without having to pay any extra charges.
And I don't think the issues that the PSN had with it being hacking, I don't know if that's going to send people away or not.
No.
I mean, they did have that problem, but they resolved it.
They dealt with it.
I think they learned.
It shouldn't have occurred in the first place, but
when it did occur, they dealt with it.
And as you can see, they've sold 80 million. People are still going to them, and it wasn't that much of a problem. Okay, it was a problem, but it hasn't deterred people away.
I think one other thing kind of worth mentioning is I can't remember where I read or heard this, but someone said it's incredible what having a few years being humbled by the market does to a company, and for like the things like the hacking and all of like the things they fucked up with the PlayStation 3, which there have been a few things. I think they're making improvements, which is good.
That was one we were going to mention before. It was how difficult it was to make games for it.
Yeah, like, the architecture is so completely different pretty much, well, to any other platform. It's an impressive architecture. It can do a lot, but it's just not accessible. So it's taken, like, if you look at the quality in games compared to like the early ones to now, there's a huge difference. Like, The Last of Us looks so much more incredibly better than, say, Resistance, which was pretty much a launch title.
Because companies have had 5 years to actually work on it.
8 years.
And
7 or 8.
Yeah.
6 years now. Well, yeah, no,
2007 to 2013. 6 years.
6 years,
but that's also, like, all of the games that were on multi-platforms were developed, most of the time they were developed for the 360 and then ported to the PS3, and that meant quality
badly.
Well, I think the other part about that is, like, saying earlier about Microsoft being a software company and Sony being a hardware company. Microsoft really know how to make software, so it's really easy to target the Xbox 360 as a platform to develop for.
Yeah. PlayStation 3 wasn't very developer friendly.
Oh no, not at all. But looks like it's been changed to the next generation, which is obviously going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've covered quite a lot about the PlayStation 3 there, and we will be releasing another video looking at what the PlayStation 4 has to bring in more detail. We've covered it a bit slightly here, but yeah, so that'll be out in a couple of days. Are we all looking forward to that?
Oh yeah.
We're all looking forward to PlayStation 4?
I'm very looking forward to it. I haven't decided what I'm getting yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's actually coming.
Yeah. So, let us know what you think. What do you think about PlayStation 3? Do you own one? Do you like it? Did the hacking turn you off, or have you recently bought one, much like Dave, because of the Last of Us and PlayStation Plus, those sort of things?
Yeah, if you have bought one recently, let us know why as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Comments below and whatnot. Like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.